Hey everybody, this is Paul with CDA. We're going to go ahead and get started with the mobile guided workflow. What we're going to do is we are going to work on this claim here, which is 065. I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And this is what the technician is used to seeing down at the bottom, has the different tabs. I'm going to click on more. And when we're here, the technician can go ahead and collect all the money, take a million pictures before and after, can view them here. And now what we're going to do, there's a new button called repair that used to say completed. But with the guided workflow, it now says repair. We're going to go ahead and click on repair. And now the technician is presented with three options when he's at the end of the claim. And it's pretty straightforward. Did you complete it? Is it an incomplete, or is it a reschedule? In this video, we're going to go through all three pretty quickly because it's pretty simple to use and implement. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on complete. And then it's going to say, hey, tech, all of these are required. So if any of them are missing, you're going to need to fill in these fields. Also, what's required is to take a picture of the model serial tag if that was set up in the settings, which was from the previous video. So we're going to go ahead, take a picture. Everything's well. We're going to go ahead and say next. Next thing it's going to say is, hey, tech, what did you do with all your parts? You can either say they were all good back to stock, which means, hey, we didn't use them. Or you can say what we want them to say is all my parts were installed, which is a good thing. Or the technician can independently select each one of these parts and say what happened. We just give two buttons that make it easier for the tech to decide what he did. Or again, he can independently select each one. We're going to go ahead and say next. And now here it's saying, hey, what was the service performed? The technician can click in here, can change it, can add more. And he can add what was the service performed. It says, hey, it's required for you to mandatory put in your notes. The technician's going to put in his notes. Then it's going to say what's the repair description. Technician can say on-site minor. And then he's just going to go ahead and say complete. Brings him to the next step, which is the customer signature. So the customer is required to type in their name. So whatever their name is. If there's an email address, the invoice will be emailed to the customer. If not, the tech can manually just go ahead and put it in there. And now it's saying what's the customer's signature. Hit and done. Go ahead and sign it. And now it's saying what's the tech's signature. Saying sign it. And now what happens is while that's finalizing, a PDF was assigned to the attachments and the claim, and also a PDF of the invoice was sent to the customer as well. So that all happened pretty quickly when you are using the completed. Okay, so here we are. We're right back at it. So now what we're going to do is we just did completed, and so now we're going to do incomplete. So we're just going to go through the same process. We're going to click on 065. And again, the tech's going to navigate through each of these tabs. And now the tech has a new tab, which is called repair. And the tech is now going to say, hey, this is now an incomplete job. And so the technician is going to go ahead, go through the same protocol, needs to fill in all the required, needs to take a picture of the model and serial tag, going to say next. Again, in this case, the tech can go in here and he can independently select each one, or the tech is going to say all parts are on hold, or the tech is going to say all parts are good back to stock. In this case, we're going to say all parts are on hold, and we're going to say next. And now it's going to say what was the service performed. And now more importantly, it's going to say, hey, you need to give some repair notes. And more than likely, these repair notes are going to need to speak to why in the world was this an incomplete job. And so the technician is just going to type in his notes on why it's an incomplete job. And so the tech will go ahead, put in why this was a incomplete job. And so he'll go ahead, type that information in. They can go ahead and put in the repair description if they want to. They can even put in the meter reading. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to say it's incomplete. And again, we're just going to go through the same process again. Even though this is an incomplete job, the customer still needs to sign their invoice. The customer is going to sign their invoice. They're going to print their name in. If the customer has an email address, they will get a copy of their invoice. If not, the technician will put in the email address. Then the customer will sign the invoice. We're going to hit done. Now the technician is going to go ahead and sign the invoice. It's going to say complete. And so now what's happening, again, just like complete, this is now incomplete, is that a PDF is going to go into the attachments. It's going to be labeled as an invoice incomplete with the text name. The customer will get a copy of the invoice as well, that it's an incomplete job, so they will have a copy of that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next option, which is a reschedule. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. Alrighty, so here we are on our last option, which is reschedule. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. So we're just going to go ahead, click on the same claim, 065. Technician's going to go through the same sequence he normally would whenever he's at a reschedule. And now what he's going to do is he's going to click on repair. And again, he will go ahead, it's not a complete, it's not an incomplete, but it's an actual reschedule. And then what's going to happen is it's going to say, hey, why is this a reschedule? The technician is going to go ahead, say why it's a reschedule. And now what's mandatory is the technician is going to need to take a picture of the not at home. So the technician will take a picture of that. What happens once he takes the picture, that will automatically be attached to the claim, and it'll say customer not home picture with the date stamp. And so everyone knows what that picture is. And all the technician is going to do at this point after he takes the picture, which is required, he will go ahead and click on reschedule. We're going to watch that. So we see that the job went ahead and it got marked as a reschedule. And so what happens is that will go into the substatus for rescheduling. So now let's go ahead and click on reschedule. Let's go to more and let's go to repair. And we already went over this in settings, but if you haven't seen the settings video, let's go ahead and just real quick mention that whenever the technician clicks on complete, it will go to a pre-designated substatus. The technician does not need to select it. When the technician clicks on incomplete, it will go to a pre-destined substatus, and the same for reschedule. So in the settings for guided workflow, there is a setting for complete, incomplete, and reschedule, and that setting says, hey, when each of these are clicked, where do you want the substatus? What do you want the substatus to be set to? So I just wanted to point that out. If you have not seen the first video on settings, we do recommend that you watch that. So that will complete today's video.